What's up everyone? Welcome back. Today honestly I don't know what I am doing. I have gotten a couple of requests to update the AOE Bomb Fireball Mage that I did a little while back. I just don't know why I am actually doing it right now. Don't get me wrong, it was a good build at that point in time and it probably will be again, just not right at this current moment. The current state of things is pretty bad, to be honest. The bugs are too numerous to count. Force Shield is pretty much useless. No gems currently give any flat damage to spells. They released another hotfix on July 30th, which claims that they have fixed the stash bug, I don't know yet, again. But now all of a sudden my skill tree will not line up correctly after rotating it no matter what I do. This has been a problem for some people for a while now. It has even affected me in the past, but there has always been a workaround to get it lined up correctly. This time I spent about 35 minutes dicking around with this character's skill tree before I finally just gave up, said forget it, and here we are. But before we get into it, I just want you all to know that I haven't really been building characters lately that are capable of getting you up to the champion dungeons. Why? Because who cares? Seriously, there is absolutely no point right now. More balancing changes are coming, so even if you make a character that gets there right now, doesn't mean it's going to later. And Magic Find? Well, as far as most of us can tell, it's still not really working or having much of an effect. I have spent a lot of time in the champion dungeons running with anywhere from 50 to 10 billion with a B, Magic Find, and there is no noticeable difference for me between running champion with tons of Magic Find or just running veteran +1 with absolutely no Magic Find. And the same goes for affixes found in a level 50 area versus affixes found in a level 20 area. Finding an item off of a level 50, 60, whatever monster does not roll higher affixes. I have pulled items out of the veteran dungeons that actually had higher affixes than the same piece that I pulled out of a champion dungeon. So there really is absolutely no benefit to getting up that high right now. We will get back up there when there is actually a point to it, and when the champion dungeons actually work for once. Right now, monsters are still appearing with up to 100 million health points, and those little tiny soul spawns will one-shot a character with 160,000 health points, 116,000 force shield, maxed resistances, a little block chance, and 97.7% dodge chance. That is ridiculous. So, keeping that all in mind, let's get to it, to what has become the absolute worst build I have done yet, going pure glass cannon, all ferocity for a higher overall damage and crit chance, but extremely low life. And the gear, well, most of it is just whatever I had found and threw on, but I mean, what is there to really look for? Not much, but anything with ferocity will help out your damage and crit chance. Anything with plus to health and max health, resistances, spell casting speed if you feel like you need it, spell crit chance, crit damage, any flat damage added to spells, movement speed. I am running with the Thirst Amulet, so I am receiving a negative 24% maximum health. If you find an amulet that makes you deal more damage than this one, replace it immediately and get that health back. Freeze chance helps our Winter's Grasp, fire damage helps Fireball, and that elemental spell cost reduction helps to throw more fireballs, I guess. I currently do have O'Malley's Lucky Belt, but it's really only for the dodge chance, all attributes, and crit chance. The second I find a belt that deals more damage, O'Malley's is ganja. And I decided to socket my staff with Flawed Aetheryte because basic attacks with staves are considered attacks. The ether damage is applied to your basic attacks, which will apply stacks of stasis, slowing the enemy down while you regen your willpower. And yes, using your slow-ass basic attack is still the best way to regen willpower besides using a willpower potion, and having multiple projectiles will regenerate willpower twice as fast, or at least much faster. I mean, I don't know if it's specifically double the amount, but it will help out a lot. The skills I am using are Bulwark of Dawn, modified to have increased duration, grants bonus to all resistance while inside the area, grants sacred damage to attacks while standing in the area, and the healing area follows the player that it was cast on. Consuming Embers, modified to have increased area of effect, increased damage, more likely to deal critical hits, and gives a buff that allows you to deal additional damage based on the base element of this skill. Winter's Grasp, modified to have increased area of effect, reduced cooldown, increased freeze duration, and gives a buff that allows you to deal additional damage based on the base element of this skill. Tear of Ethliel, modified to have increased area of effect, reduced willpower cost, increased damage, and converts base frost damage to fire damage with increased damage. And finally, Ether Jump, modified to have increased teleport range, gain willpower for each enemy passed through with Ether Jump. Casting this ability removes all crowd control effects, and can be cast multiple times at an increased cost. And lastly, the Gate of Fates. I have tried at least 10 different variations on here, not even exaggerating, but ultimately this is where my frustration has led me, starting in Soldier and grabbing critical hit damage from the first 4 nodes, up into Ranger for some projectile damage, agility, and attacks and spells that launch projectiles now launch an additional projectile with reduced damage. Over here for some attack speed, projectile crit chance, and projectiles that hit an enemy at close range pierce them and can deal damage to other enemies behind them. Then back down into Soldier for some movement speed to get over this way, grabbing all resistances and max health. Up into Warlock for willpower on hit, spell casting speed, and spell cost reduction to get over into Praetorian for health regeneration and regeneration rate, and Retaliator. Ugh. Then we go through Scholar, grabbing spell damage, spell casting speed and increased damage, ending in Kabbalist for more spell damage and some more spell cost reduction. Over to Sentinel, grabbing projectile damage, cooldown reduction for all skills, max health and health regeneration. Up into Assassin, grabbing some attack speed, critical chance, and finally, Merciless Lethality. Critical hits deal more damage, while non-critical hits deal less. I'm not really happy with it, but it gets the job done. And again, mages are just in the worst shape right now. It's not impossible to get a good build going, and there are a couple of good videos out there, but for the most part, it really does feel like a lost cause for the moment. But only for the moment. Like I said, there are still a lot of changes to come for this project, still a lot of things that they need to get implemented back into the game that was there before, like more ways to scale your elemental and spell damages, for example. Content Patch 2 isn't going to release until sometime in September, so until then, this is what we got to work with. And even then, there is no guarantee that they will add enough back into the game to make mages viable again. We have not heard anything more about mages from the developers yet, or about gyms, but it is definitely no fun testing with mages at the moment. And I mean, that is just my own personal opinion, and I'm sure that not everyone out there feels the same way. So I do hope that everyone out there is doing well and having a great time. Stick around for more builds, the next one being a dual dagger build that utilizes the Genesis helmet, and then after that I have another update for the Purifier build that boosted his crits to up over 30k damage. So if you are new around here, then be sure to smash those buttons, you know the ones I'm talking about, and hopefully I will catch you all again next time.